Before you go to sleep tonight, let this be simple. You do not have to force the feeling. You do not have to fix every thought. You do not have to replay the day and judge whether you stayed in the state perfectly. You do not have to prove anything to your mind right now. This is not a technique to perform. This is a quiet return. A return to the version of you who does not need to chase the state. A return to the version of you who can stop gripping, stop checking, stop forcing, and let the manifesting state become familiar. So as you listen, do not try too hard. Let the words move gently in the background. If something lands, let it land. If your mind wanders, that is okay. If your body relaxes, let it relax. If you fall asleep, that is okay too. You are not here to control the night. You are here to return to the state, and the manifesting state is not far away. It is not something you have to hunt down. It is not hidden behind the perfect thought, the perfect mood, or the perfect routine. The manifesting state begins to feel more natural when you stop treating it like something fragile. You can have a human day and still return. You can have a quiet day and still return. You can have a day where nothing dramatic happened and still return. You can have a day where your mind wandered, your emotions shifted, your old reactions appeared, and still return. Because the state is not proven by never having a reaction. The state becomes real through the way you come back. So tonight, let yourself come back softly. You do not need to force your mind into silence. You do not need to argue with every thought. You do not need to convince yourself aggressively. Just notice where you have been gripping. Maybe you were checking too much today. Checking for signs, checking for reactions, checking whether something changed, checking whether someone noticed, checking whether the desire is closer, checking whether you felt different enough, and maybe part of you believed that checking was helping. But checking often keeps the nervous system alert. It keeps the mind scanning. It keeps your attention outside of yourself. So, tonight you can let that soften. You can say, I do not need to check right now. I do not need to solve everything tonight. I do not need to know every detail before I rest. I can return to the state without forcing proof. Let that be enough for this moment. Because before sleep, the goal is not to create pressure. The goal is to become available to peace. And for some people, peace can feel unfamiliar at first. If you are used to tension, peace may feel too quiet. If you are used to chasing, rest may feel unproductive. If you are used to uncertainty, calm may feel suspicious. If you are used to proving yourself, doing nothing may feel uncomfortable. But peace is not a setback. Stillness is not failure. Rest is not you falling behind. Sometimes rest is where the old identity stops being fed. Sometimes rest is where the body learns it does not have to stay on guard. Sometimes rest is where the new state starts becoming safer. So tonight, you do not have to earn rest by exhausting yourself first. You do not have to become perfectly certain before you are allowed to relax. You do not have to finish every inner conversation before you let your body settle. You can let this moment be simple. You are here. You are breathing. You are listening. You are returning. And returning is enough. The old version of you may have needed constant proof. The old version may have needed every sign to feel safe. The old version may have needed someone else's reaction before it could feel chosen, supported, wanted, respected, or secure. But the version of you entering the manifesting state does not need to live from that urgency. This version can become quieter. This version can pause before reacting. This version can receive without immediately questioning. This version can let a calm moment remain calm. This version can stop turning every delay into a sentence about worth. This version can stop treating every neutral moment like rejection. This version can stop making every feeling mean something is wrong. You are allowed to become less available to the old pattern, not by fighting it, not by shaming it, not by forcing it to disappear before you sleep, but by no longer feeding it with your full attention. If an old thought appears, you do not have to wrestle with it. You can notice it and say, that is the old pattern. That is the old interpretation. That is the old way of trying to stay safe. And I do not have to follow it tonight. Then return. Return to your breath. Return to your body. Return to the quiet, knowing that you are allowed to stabilize. You are allowed to change slowly. You are allowed to become different without announcing it. You are allowed to receive without immediately questioning the gift. You are allowed to move into a new identity without needing everyone to understand it right away. The manifesting state is not only found in big emotional moments, it is found in ordinary moments like this, when the room is quiet, when the day is ending, when there is nothing left to perform, when you stop trying to become impressive, when you stop trying to prove that it is working, when you stop trying to manage every possible outcome before you rest. This is where the state can become softer, because the state is not just a thought, it is not just a sentence, it is not just a method, it is the identity you keep returning to. And tonight, you can return to the identity of the person who no longer needs to chase every answer before sleeping. The person who can rest without fear. That rest will ruin the manifestation. The person who can allow life to continue moving without constantly monitoring it. The person who can trust that progress does not always need to be loud to be real. The person who can feel calm without turning calm into a problem. Let that version become familiar. Let the body learn this. Let the mind learn this. Let your inner world experience a moment where it does not have to force, chase, perform, check, or correct everything. Just for tonight, you can release the need to manage the entire story. You can let tomorrow be tomorrow. You can let the desire breathe. You can let your nervous system step out of urgency. You can let the new state be simple. Sometimes, people think entering the manifesting state means they have to feel powerful every second. But often, the state begins to stabilize when you stop needing intensity. You do not need a rush. You do not need a dramatic sign. You do not need a perfect feeling. You do not need to stay awake proving your belief. You can let the state become normal. Normal can feel quiet. Normal can feel steady. Normal can feel like less resistance. Normal can feel like not needing to solve what used to consume you. Normal can feel like closing your eyes without reopening the same old mental loop. Normal can feel like letting something be unfinished without making that mean you are unsafe. That is a real shift. So if your mind brings up the old question tonight, what if nothing is happening? You can answer gently, something is happening internally. If your mind says, what if I am not doing enough? You can answer, I do not need to force the state. I can return to it. If your mind says, what if I lose it? You can answer, the state is not lost because I had a human moment. If your mind says, what if it takes too long? You can answer, I do not need urgency to become who I am. Let those answers be gentle, not forced, not loud, not desperate, just steady. Because the manifesting state is not strengthened by panic. It is strengthened by return. Each time you return, without drama, the state becomes more familiar. Each time you stop turning discomfort into failure, the state becomes more stable. Each time you rest without guilt, the state becomes safer. Each time you let peace exist without questioning it, the state becomes more natural. And that is what you are practicing tonight. Not a performance, not a ritual you have to perfect, just a quiet return. You can return from overthinking. You can return from checking. You can return from chasing. You can return from emotional heaviness. You can return from the old story. You can return from the need to make everything happen tonight. And as you return, you do not have to become someone else by force. You are allowing the real shift to become familiar. The shift where you are no longer living from pressure. The shift where you stop needing every outside reaction to decide your inner position. The shift where you let your identity become more important than the evidence of the moment. The shift where you can rest inside the assumption instead of constantly trying to prove it. That is entering the manifesting state. Not by trying harder, but by releasing the grip, by letting the inner position become less negotiable, by letting your body experience the safety of not performing, by letting the night be a place where the old pattern does not have to be rehearsed again. So tonight, let this be enough. You are allowed to rest. You are allowed to receive. You are allowed to be in process. You are allowed to let the state become normal. You are allowed to stop carrying the whole manifestation like a problem that has to be solved before morning. You are not behind. You are not failing because you feel quiet. You are not disconnected because you are tired. You are not out of the state because your mind had thoughts. You are learning to return without panic. And that return is part of the state becoming real. So take this with you softly. You do not have to force the state. You can enter it. You can return to it. You can let it become familiar. You can let it become natural. You can let it become the place you come from. And as you rest tonight, you do not have to keep becoming through pressure. You can become through peace. You can become through stability. You can become through allowing. You can become through the quiet decision to stop abandoning the inner state every time the outer world is silent. Let the silence be safe tonight. Let the quiet be enough tonight. Let rest be part of your embodiment tonight. And let yourself enter your manifesting state. Subscribe and enter your manifesting state.